Is there further debate?
Madam President.
Senator Thayn.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to say a few words. I've heard enough. In December, I talked with President Trump of BSU. We had a conference call, and I told her she had some problems on campus. I told her one of the things she could do to help bring some balance to the education system is have a class entitled "The Failures of Socialism Throughout History." You know, Jamestown, they tried socialism, redistribution of wealth, every man working, and then, according to his need, didn't work. Critical race theory is based upon the idea that you need to have redistribution of the wealth to help people that are downtrodden, that they don't have the power within themselves to change their futures. I find this not compatible with the American system of government. Now, I recognize that we all start in different places, that some people start in a place that's harder to progress than others, and that we can recognize that and provide some help if we need to. However, to say, like one of the aides in this Capitol told of her experience in a class at Boise State, her professor, and this gal happened to have been Hispanic, was told by the professor that she is too brown to succeed in Idaho. She was basically saying that she didn't have the power to succeed because of the color of her skin. That type of instruction at the college level is not appropriate. Anyone can succeed in Idaho or the United States if they accept the responsibility and work hard at it. Does that mean some people have a harder time than others? Yes. But that's the case. But to blame it on a system, and I think there's some a claim that there's been no proof. Well, I went back to college when I was in my 40s. And one reason I took a lot of CLEP tests, including in sociology, because I didn't want to get any more F's in my class with arguing with my professor. So in 1978, I took a class from Boise State University, and it was a philosophy class because previous years I had gone to Utah State, and I thought I'd been indoctrinated enough in Marxism at that institution that I thought I'd like to push back a little bit against some of the professors. So the first day of class, the professor said there's several different areas of philosophy. One of them is religious philosophy. And the purpose of religious philosophy is trying to understand the nature of God. And he said we hadn't been able to do that. Well, I silently disagreed. But then the next area of philosophy is the philosophy of government, which said, he said the attempt is to come up with an ideal form of government. And here in the United States, we had a form of government based upon God-given rights, and we hadn't even defined what God is like yet. Well, it was that type of thing that bothered me years earlier when I'd been going to college. And so I raised my hand and said, just because you haven't defined what God's like doesn't mean our founding fathers didn't. And from that definition of God-given rights, they come up with a system of government. He had absolutely nothing to say, but I got my F. And there were several times during that class that I was laughed at and ridiculed by the whole class. So that this hasn't been going on is not true. It has been going on for a long time. There has been a power struggle at the college campuses. It's been the oppression of teachers that have power to give grades over students. What we need to do is give students more opportunity and access to what the policies are of all four of these universities if they feel like they've experienced instructor bias, how to deal with that. I didn't know how to deal with that. I took my midterm, and my professor told me if you put your name on the paper, you'll get 50 points. Well, I put my name on the paper plus answered all the questions and got 50 points. And then that aide that I was telling you about that was told that she was too brown to succeed in Idaho, she told me that impacted her for a year before she could really process that and move on. I think teachers really need to recognize, and professors, the impact they have on students. They need to be very careful that they're giving information and different points of view, but not giving the indication that grades are dependent upon what the answers are. I even have a granddaughter that's going to high school that gave a very good presentation. You could guess it was probably something the teacher didn't particularly like. And some of these things are a little bit hard to prove if the grades are dependent upon personalities, the quality of the content of the presentation or not. But the grade was not as high as what it probably would have been if it would have been a little bit different content. So to say that this is not going on is, if you're a conservative white male Christian in the last 40 years in the United States, like I was, I can tell you that has been going on. So I support what the House did, the concerns that they raised. Moving ahead, I have faith in the presidents of the universities that they will get their houses in order and maybe have some training on the impact they have on students, being a little bit more careful on how they provide information, because college education, especially for some professions, is very important. I support the college system in the state of Idaho. I think most teachers are very appropriate in what they do, both in the K-12 system and in the higher ed system. But every once in a while, we need to make a statement. And I think that's what this bill does. I'll be very interested as we move ahead. I think there's wonderful things going on in Idaho. I would like to talk about the good things going on more than raise concerns. In fact, I just got a call from a constituent the other day, and he talked about 5 students that came from small schools, from Mackey to Declo, and most of them graduated from high school with a lot of college credits, and they're all graduating from college with engineering degrees or teaching degrees, and they're all very successful. We have a very good system in the state of Idaho, but every once in a while we need to step back and say, let's make sure we're treating people fairly. And I think that's what the message has been given. I trust our university professors and presidents to do the right thing moving ahead, and so I'd urge your support on this bill.